Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and I got a fun one for you because the name's Bootlicker, Pete Bootlicker, and of course, I'm talking about Pete Buttigieg, the establishment guy that billionaires are getting behind in droves, the Rhodes Scholar, the ex-military man, the guy that has no real experience to lead a country, but they're trying to tell you he's leading in the Iowa caucuses. Well, that's pretty suspect to me. And a guy named Steve who runs a show named Slow News Day Show. And he's got a little YouTube channel. I put the link in the live chat. So make sure you go here right now and subscribe. He is part of the Action for Assange network. And I want to point out that these guys are trying to raise money to go to the extradition hearings. And if you can, please donate to these guys. We want to make a difference because these are actual on the ground independent journalists. And he's got a new badge of honor to wear today, as he has been labeled a far left internet talk show host and been attacked for exposing Mr. Bootlicker for what he likely is, an intelligence asset. Thank you so much for joining me, Steve.
Oh, Jason, thanks for having me on, man. This has been a hilarious day.
So tell us all
I
about it.
uh,
First of
I
all, for those that don't know you, tell us how that you got involved in the Action for Assange network and then ultimately started your own far left internet show, Slow News Day, so that the good
it
people at the
turns
Daily
out,
Mail could send their attack dogs. Go ahead.
yeah, no, I had the show before we started doing the free Assange vigils. Way back in the day, I was part of the nation's 2008 election blog team. I was fired by Chris Hayes for writing an article called Barack Obama Reagan with a Tan. Subsequently blacklisted for that. And then about 6 months ago, Andrew Smith, who co-founded Action for Assange, reached out to me and asked me to be a part of these vigils. We've been going strong ever since. You mentioned the GoFundMe. We're almost halfway there to our goal, which is incredible. Taylor and I will be going to London to be the American on-the-ground independent media presence for that. And Andrew and Christy will be hosting events and rallies in Washington, D.C. at the same time.
So on to the bootlicker. You know, he's been somebody I've called out from the very beginning that's there to put out establishment talking points. He is very well spoken. There's no doubt that he's intelligent, but he is absolutely 100% backed by this predator class and has been groomed by them openly to take this position. So, why don't you go through just some of the factual information on the rise of Double O Bootlicker?
It's beautiful, by the way. So Pete Buttigieg comes from a Jesuit family in South Bend, Indiana. I'm sure your audience is familiar with the history of the Jesuit order in terms of it being more or less the intelligence agency of the papacy. Um, Pete Buttigieg goes from high school to Harvard. While he's at Harvard, he works on a political campaign or two, including John Kerry's presidential campaign. He then goes to Oxford as a Rhodes Scholar, where he's tapped to or recruited by McKinsey and Associates, a long-term uh, partner of the CIA's. They're a consulting firm um, that is basically centered around destabilization and exploitation in destabilized countries. They kind of follow in after the U.S. military disrupts an area and then proceeds to do what predator class organizations do. They, exploit the locals and reap the profits. Um, Pete Buttigieg is a multi-language speaking gentleman, which is, of course, an attractive quality for intelligence agencies all over the planet. Um, and this is important to mention too, because people make a big deal out of his military service, Jason.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't enlist in the military until after he had done his time with McKinsey and Associates. When he enlists, he goes straight into the intelligence corps in the Navy, where to this day, right now, Pete Buttigieg is an active duty Naval Reserve intelligence officer.
And what people don't understand,
and this I joke.
Well, if you look, we could talk about CIA, but right there, the Office of Naval Intelligence has been integral in so many black operations that you don't have the slightest idea about. And in fact, there's a lot of evidence that Oswald himself was originally trained by the Office of Naval Intelligence for the Central Intelligence Agency, a fact that's often overlooked or obfuscated. So just because, and we've talked about this, someone may not have the label of CIA or NSA, especially in today's world with so many sub-organizations such as the one that groomed him, on top of getting that Rhodes Scholarship, which is notorious to produce establishment politicians and military men such as, I don't know, John Kerry, one of the many Rhodes Scholars that's gotten farther along. You're made to be some kind of a kook. But one of my favorite lines in this thing is, I think it was, if you wrote a science fiction script to come up with a better, CIA type asset, you couldn't come up with a better one than the bootlicker himself.
You really couldn't. I joked before a number of times that he's a lab created CIA Democrat. But I mean, really, when you get right down to it, if you were to throw together all of the ingredients that you would want to have a completely benign, very intelligent, charismatic, charming gentleman who was an asset of the intelligence community, by the time you were done mixing and pouring, you would have that little rat-faced fucker on the screen right now.
And you know what? I think it's hard to argue against those points because all the connections are there. And let's be honest, they've given him probably more time than a candidate that was polling as low as he was, that had no grassroots whatsoever. And, by the way, I would argue, had less experience than even Barack Obama, who, before Trump, was the person with the least amount of political experience to become president. And before that, it was George W. Bush, who also at that time had the least political experience to become an American president. Just so people know what I'm referring to, the W had only served one term as governor, okay, when he announced. He essentially had served that term out, and he really wanted to be the president of baseball, but Jeb Bush wasn't cutting it. Neil Bush was caught up in that BCCI scandal back in the day that Bob Barr and Robert Mueller helped cover up, by the way, together, because they're best buddies, because it's deep state forever. All right, that's how it really works. So you have those guys. So he comes in, and you're like, wow, well, he really didn't have a lot of experience, just a governor for a little while. I don't know if he served that whole term. Then you have Barack Obama. He serves half a term as senator. And he announces he's going to become the president of the United States. He does. Now, you could fast forward to someone like Hillary Clinton running on that side, having all this, political experience. Okay, she loses to a guy who's never held office. I mean, they figure, what the fuck? Let's just go Buttigieg. Let's roll the dice. Let's have an obscure mayor come in and act like he's like the down-home country guy we all need, with that extra twist of him being a open homosexual to try to bring the progressives in, and let's push this guy. And if you don't like him, let's paint you as a bigot. And the best part is that he's a military guy. So if you dare speak out against the wars of aggression, old Petey Boy will set you straight. And he'll let you know that the servicemen really want to die in those foreign wars for the predator class to keep us safe at home so we can keep our freedoms.
It is. I mean, it's just, the more that you look into Buttigieg, you find out that he's part of the Truman Project, which is a national security centered organization. that is supposed to be the flip side, I suppose, of the Center for National Progress, which is one of the more right-wing think tanks that we have out there. He's part of the Cohen Group, which has ties to like some of the shadiest law firms on the planet. And you're right, for him to be a mayor of a town, it's got like 8,000 people. And I grew up in Indiana. I grew up in central Indiana, not in South Bend, but yeah, I played a couple of soccer games on the Notre Dame campus. I know how big the town is. It's not that big at all. I think the population of the university is more than 3 times the population of the actual town.
That's what I have
and
here.
for them to sort of
That's what I have here. I got. That's the school I went to. I've got 2 universities here. There's 6,000 in one and 1,500 in the other, and we just break about 10, 11,000 when they're in session. You know, it's literally like sending the mayor of Oneonta in the presidential race. It's ridiculous. But the mayor of Oneonta isn't a Rhodes Scholar.
If you remember, he ran for the chair of the DNC during the 2016 primary too. Like he that's one of the ways that he introduced himself to America was briefly running for chair of the DNC. You don't aspire to that job unless you're already playing ball. Unless they already have plans for you, or you have plans that that you're introducing to the DNC. And the way that you would do that is if you had, say, connections to McKinsey and Associates or the ONI or any one of the 437 different alphabet agencies that we have now. Because, George Bush believes in small government.
Far left internet thinks Mayor Pete is a secret agent. You got to go check the article out. But first, go subscribe right now to the Slow News Day Show. Go check out actionforassange.com. Make sure you subscribe to their YouTube channel as well. I'm part of their every other week broadcast. In fact, you guys are going to be broadcasting tonight, correct? It is Wednesday.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we are. We've got some good stuff to talk about. I believe the people that run the show, the Convo Couch, Pasta and Fiorella Isabel are going to be on tonight. This Sunday, though, while your audience is here, I should mention this. We're having a huge show. It takes place during the time of my normal Sunday broadcast, which is 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. And we will be joining us as a co-host will be Gordon Demick. He is a UK independent journalist. He is incredible. We will be interviewing Tariq Haddad, who resigned from Newsweek over Newsweek not wanting to publish his accurate reporting on the OPCW leaks. We will also have a couple of members of the Defend WikiLeaks and Free Assange movement. Somerset Bean, wonderful graphic artist, responsible for some of the most prolific images that we have out here in terms of the Free Assange movement. It is going to be an incredible show, and I'm very, very much looking forward to talking to Tariq Haddad. That's going to be fascinating.
I'm looking forward to that one as well. And I also, again, want to encourage my audience to consider giving to the GoFundMe to help them get out to the extradition hearings in London. The Assange issue, one of the most important issues out there, and one that is still being really blacked out to a major extent in this country and in Western media in general. So Slow News Day Show, go check them out. Steve, thank you so much for joining me, my friend.
Thank you, Jason.
Always appreciate them. He's doing great work. Make sure to go check him out. If you want to support my work, you can thumbs this video up, sub, and share. Join the Burmese Brigade. We're literally a little over 1,000. I think it's less than 1,104 or 5 away from 40,000. Let's hit 40K, and then 50K, and then 100K, and just keep rolling with this. Follow me on Twitter. Check out all my documentary films free here in the playlist section. Loose Change, Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, and Shade the Motion Picture. You want to help me? I'm going to put this in the chat. I need you to please retweet this thread. I'm not even going to talk about the thread. You know what this thread's about. You know what this thread's about. There it is. And if you want to financially support me, please, $5, $10, $15. It means the world to me. It keeps me afloat. Keeps me doing these videos 3 to 7 times a day. I love you guys, and I will see you on the flip side.